Denver, Colorado, here with my man Armando Jacox.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
What's up, brother? We're here.
Good to
We
see
just
you
finished
guys.
up a live recording session of the Roof It podcast. I was a guest on Armando's show, and it's super awesome, super exciting.
Awesome interview, man. I'm
experience.
excited. I'm pumped. I want to go conquer the world right now.
The show we got here. We're just heading out, but in Denver, downtown Denver, and we're just getting out of here. So
see you guys later.
Take
Tune in.
care.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in. You're listening to Roofing It, and I'm your host, Armando Jacox. In this podcast, we interview leaders in the roofing business, and we do something a little different here. We dive deep into their personal lives, into their personal history, and we get to learn what their struggles were, what their challenges were, and how they overcame those struggles to become the people that they are today. I personally find that fascinating, and I hope that you do too. So thank you again for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. Today we've got Chad Michael, the Practitioner. I love your branding, by the way. I love the Practitioner stuff.
Thank you.
I love the name, the
here.
word, the Practitioner, because that is, you are working in this business, right?
Totally.
Just for some of the listeners here, I'm really excited to have you here, by the way, Chad, to be in the studio.
Super excited to be here with you, brother.
I'm super
I appreciate
excited.
you having me come.
Yeah,
I
because
was thrilled about the invite.
Well, I've been following you for a while. You probably wouldn't know this because you don't know who follows you. You never know. That's what's so cool about all this. And I love watching your videos because you are unique, very unique in a lot of ways. You probably know this, but no one is really teaching this you're very technical in how you deliver your content. And so one thing I want people to know is today we're going to be a little different. You and I haven't really gotten to know each other and went through some of your story, and I've usually meet with some guys, we have some lunch, we talk a little bit about the story, but this is straight up, we're gonna get right into it.
And by the way, I had no idea what we were going to talk about, so just throw it at me.
That makes it fun. It makes it really fun. So although you are kind of skilled in creating content, you have a really great YouTube channel, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's called Insurance Restoration Training. And honestly, I started it because I was trying to show some of my clients, they were contractor clients of mine, and their team how to properly do a hail damage inspection. And that's where it really started. They asked me, can you do this on video to show our team? And they were in a different city than I was. And so I made the video. And it's funny, at the time, I just moved into a house that had hail damage and it was still vacant. I said, okay, perfect. I went out and I had no idea, no clue what I was doing. I just used my smartphone and did some just basic videos. But then the problem was I couldn't figure out how to share it with them. And so I figured, I settled on YouTube would be the easiest way I found to get it to them at the time. But the strange thing happened. Other people started to watch those videos, and they're like, how do you do this? And how do you do that? And I was just really amazed by the lack of information, the educational information in this field. And that really motivated me. I noticed that, and I thought, I know a lot of this information, and I just feel like, I guess I got frustrated by seeing people, on Facebook and in different groups and things like that, always asking questions that I thought people already knew the answers to.
Yeah.
And then I would see leaders even giving them incorrect information.
Yeah.
And so that really frustrated me. So it was kind of born out of that. But I started a YouTube channel. It's called Insurance Restoration Training. And at some point, I started to take it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you just to kind of because we're going to get into this, you're gonna, hopefully you share some of that knowledge and stuff, because we really want.
Yeah, for sure.
I do want to get in a little bit about your backstory. That's something I've always personally been very curious about, because I've watched your videos. It's a bit of a mystery. You have discussed a little bit about that, but and kind of the one thing with me, with my podcast is that I have a big thing around dads, because like I grew up with a single mom, and I grew up with, my single mom and three sisters, and my dad was an alcoholic, and he had a lot of problems, and he kind of did the best that he could do, but he really didn't come into my life until I was a little bit older, like teenage years and stuff, and it really it was really hard, that whole experience, and so that's like a major theme, right? Very painful to be a kid playing baseball and watching your dad's, your friends' dads playing catch, and like here you are, like, well, where's my dad, and even probably brings a tear to my eye just thinking about it now, because it's really, really hard, So
and you have kids?
I've got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Okay, a girl, boy, what?
I've got a boy, two boys.
Two boys.
Two boys.
All right.
Two boys.
So let me ask you this: do you now, as a dad, do you find that sometimes some of those memories of that, not having your dad around, does it become is it even more painful sometimes now?
Dude, it is.
Now that you're a dad. I know we're getting off topic here. But.
No, this is good, man. This is what we like to talk about because, people have a certain conception, a misconception of what roofers are, and they don't, they think I'm up there on a roof, doing stuff with a hammer. Like,
wait, you're not? I'm just kidding.
They don't realize I mostly manage team and I manage the contracts and stuff like that.
There's a white collar aspect of it.
There is. Right? I look at paperwork all day a lot of times. Yeah. So
you have to be a little bit of a techie guy.
Well, yeah, especially our company, we're 100% paperless. So, awesome. We, 100% paperless, and we're on iPads, Apple products exclusively, drones, inspections exclusively. Sure. I mean, we're like, I feel like we're on the cutting edge of what we're doing in this business. But just to back up is that, like, I've learned that in business and in life that the really hard things, they can actually serve you to serve a greater good.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? The really bad stuff. Mm-hmm. So for me, like not having a dad growing up or having, minimal and, interaction with, not really a real strong, like, male figure guiding force, was really hard. However, it served me like hugely in me now being a dad.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I bet. Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, it's hard for me not to spoil my kid rotten, because like, I mean, all the things that I ever wanted, it's just like, boom, he's got it, and so it's really hard. But I do, the thing what's interesting about all that is that part of what made me where I am now is having those hard experiences.
Sure.
Because my dad mowed lawns and stuff like that, and he'd have me go knock on doors and try to sell a job that way. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd sell a $5, $10 mowing your lawn and trim your bushes job. He didn't speak English really, and I'm bilingual. Perfect. So I'd be the kid.
Handsome young man coming out there.
Yeah, man. So
Good
I
morning.
learned. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine a little kid like me walked up and be like, "Can we do your lawn?" They'd be like, "Sure, $10." I mean, that'd be easy sell.
Totally.
It was,
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's kind of something that is like a theme of my life as far as the whole dad thing. So I'm curious about your parents. Like, were they together growing up?
Yeah. So my parents were together until I was about 14, and they got divorced when I was 14. And they maybe probably should have got divorced when I was 2. It was one of those things where they just tried to hold on, which I respect that because I've been married now 18 years, and I respect the idea of marriage, right? Like you've
been married how long?
18 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's hard for me to understand,
and you have a child as well, right?
Yeah, I do. I have a 9-year-old daughter. She'll be 10 soon.
Wow.
And it's for me, I had one of my best friends showed up at my wedding, and said, I just came to witness, the history, to see who tamed the beast. You know what I mean? Like, but nobody thought I'd be married any longer than 6 months, right?
Yeah.
But I really took it seriously. I really did. I didn't think I was ever going to get married until I was in my 60s. That was what I was thinking at the time. But when I did decide to get married, it was something I took very seriously. It was a promise I made before God, and I don't want to ever break that promise. I wanted that to last forever. So I appreciate.
Are you a religious man, or?
Well, not religious at all. No way. But we talk about my past. My grandparents on my mother's side, my mother's parents were very deeply. My grandfather was an evangelist. He was
really,
he was
wow.
a preacher. He'd be in a different church 5 days out of the week, going across the country,
Wow.
and be home on the weekends. And he was really well known. And actually, you think of the idea of church and different experiences I've had. He is the real deal. After seeing people on TV and different things, he's gone now, but he was the real deal. So, and my grandmother the same. She played the piano and was sang in the choir, that kind of thing. But really, anything good about me, not anything, most good things about me, like that have been instilled in me, comes from them. Like manners and respect, respect the elders and hold the door open.
You spent a lot of time with your grandparents growing up?
I did.
Okay.
And it was a way for me to escape the reality of my home life, which was more chaotic. It's easier for me to understand now because my parents, I was the firstborn and I had two younger sisters that came later. They were so young, like when I look at it now, I think my dad was 19 when he had me. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Maybe my mom was 19. My
Okay.
dad was a couple years older, but they were super young.
That's young.
Yeah. And I didn't have, we didn't have, so I'm 42. And so you figure early 30s, my wife and I were together almost 10 years before we had a kid.
Yeah.
And so I was older than all of my friends and, siblings. They all had kids early, but I had, a kid at a much later time, just one. And it's been incredibly rewarding, but also very, very difficult. It's a very tough job, right? And so I try to imagine my parents, in their early 20s, trying to manage three kids.
That's so hard.
Yeah,
be
and
that
it's
young.
Just, it's really, I have a lot more understanding for them now, but it was chaotic. And there's a lot of yelling and fighting that are always going on in front of me,
I'm guessing that served you similar to the way it served me because I feel like you're a super chill, calm guy. You definitely have a fierce intensity around you, especially when you're teaching the class, because I could tell you're very passionate. And so you get into it big time, which is awesome. However, I get the sense with your family, you're probably a little more on the chill side.
Usually I am, right? I mean, we all can get upset, right? But I like for my daughter to see me have composure under those times, right?
Yeah.
Like that's very important to me. And it's funny too, because I'm teaching her what composure is and what it means as she plays sports. And she saw me get upset. She said, "Dad, composure." I'm like, good. She's getting it.
I love when they call you out. Yeah. It's funny when they're like 4 though and calling you out. Like, okay,
man.
You said a bad word. And I'm like, okay.
Speaking of my grandpa, he said, the kids are like God's little spies. They're always like their eyes on you at all times. Keeping you accountable for your behavior.
They absorb a lot more than we realize, I think.
Yeah, they do.
I have to be really, really conscientious around my kid and try to be a good example,
Yeah, because it could work in a very good way, right? But, so I came from, it was a broken past. I like to say, that's the best way to describe it. I come from a broken past, meaning that, a lot of things happen in front of me that should never happen in front of a kid, and that chaotic, home life, and then to see it ripped apart, right?
When you're a teenager.
Yeah, and
because of being at that age with witnessing a divorce, that'll throw you off big time.
And at that age, 14 was when it was finalized, but it was a couple years before that, when there was a separation and they met other people, and so you had to be around other people and their families. And,
that's hard.
Yeah, then a stepdad. And
you had a stepdad?
Oh, man, yeah, I had a stepdad. And because it was public, I won't go too much
cool?
into that.
Would you guys get along at least? You didn't get along really well?
So he was like 9 years younger than my mom. And he was
like
more
your age.
Yeah, he was more closer to my age, right?
Right, okay.
But he was like very, very, I'm better, I'm sort of self-righteous, holier than thou, always like looking down on, and I just didn't take well to that, because it wasn't my dad.
Yeah, that's hard.
And
Man, that's super
and at that,
hard.
when you're going through adolescence, I'm really, I don't know, compassionate, I guess, about, or sympathetic, I guess is the right word, empathetic about kids going through adolescence, because that is like really your emotions are like going in all different directions, and if your home life is not intact, or if you don't have proper guidance, right? What you're talking about, your dad not being there at the sporting events. My dad, I can remember him being there in the early days at like T-ball. But then after that, because everything was so dysfunctional, it was the same way. Like my parents weren't there. And so when you said that, I can totally relate, being a really good player on the team, and everybody looks up to you, but your parents are nowhere around, but everybody else's parents are there and they're part of, there's always like somebody's parents driving you somewhere, and like somebody's parents has the snacks and all those things, that I'm like, where are my parents? Are they going to show up? I can remember sometimes looking into the crowd and seeing, would they come, and that was just very damaging. But I think more than any of that, and, more than any of that dysfunction, it was the sense that because they were young, they only really focused on their problems and what they like their immediate, the problems now, this week, next month, right?
Okay.
And so instead of thinking long term and really guiding me and my younger sisters about things that are important in life, priorities, college and finances and credit and, things like that, and family and love, I think honestly that love is more important than anything.
Yeah.
If you focus on that first, then that's more important than anything. You can start to take, if you're not dealing with that first, then all the other things you're doing are kind of like meaningless, or they can be meaningless.
Well, I think love for ourselves, number one.
Oh, absolutely.
Love for myself, and that's not to me like in a selfish way or anything. Like, screw everybody, I'm just going to get mine. That's not really self-love, I don't think, But I've worked with a life coach for literally like, man, I want to say like going on 10 years working with this guy once a month, meeting with him. And that's a big thing that we work on is self-love. Because that's been one of my challenges is just, kind of like when you have that, like kind of a thinking, like being able to catch myself thinking. I mean, I don't really do it that much, but like a long time ago, I mean, I would be, kind of beating up on myself internally.
Sure.
And that's not self-love, that's almost like, self-abuse in a way, and I never really looked at it that way. I just kind of thought that's just the way I think sometimes, or beat up on myself. But now I catch myself. I've been training my mind to do this for a long time, to catch myself when I have those like negative thoughts or beating up on myself. Say, hey, I have the power to control my thinking.
Sure.
I'm not going to let some squirrely brain somewhere in the back of my mind take over my mind and tell myself that I'm not good enough or something like that. And I've actually learned this through some other coaching as well, just being like, F you, guy, in my mind, all right? You're not going to take over. I'm going to take over my thinking, and this is what I really think. I can do this.
Bro, mindset is absolutely everything.
Yeah.
I've totally learned how to take over whole situations just by changing my mindset. And I'm not talking about, I made things rise up in the air with my mind. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying literally by changing my mindset, I was able to think differently and come up with strategies that were much bigger than I ever could have visualized when I was sitting there down on myself and thinking there was no hope, right? That's a big word, hope. When you start to run out of hope. And when you're down on yourself, you asked me if I was religious. I don't like that word, because I'm not into like the traditional, you go to church and you go through the motions and, just because just showing up. I know there's a lot of value to that, to just going through the motions.
I sense that you're faithful.
Yeah, well, I'm spiritual. I'm spiritual, and absolutely,
Okay.
I have faith. But I definitely I consider myself to be a Christian. Those are my beliefs, and so I'll definitely say that.
Yeah.
But then that comes, I can say I was raised in the church, meaning that it was important for my grandmother that I would be in the church, even though my parents weren't. So she would go all out to make sure I was there, right? And so I got to go on like teen group trips and things like that. They were really awesome, but I don't. I'm not proud of being raised in the church, just because looking back, I see that it was a judgmental place and it was just a lot of unnecessary drama, right? Yeah. Oh, you need to pray for such and such for her problem, right?
Yeah.
That's just another way of gossiping about someone, because you want to talk, you want to, get it going, and be entertained by all that. And so I really, I don't know. I think the true colors of at least the place where I was raised kind of came to me later. So I'm not so much into the idea of church, but I do go to a church. I love going to church.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
You go to church on Sundays?
I go to church, yeah.
Oh, nice.
And at different times, a place in Dallas where I live. And so but to me, it's more about a personal relationship, and a daily, guidance and growing thing than it is about, I was at church on Sunday. That's what I'm getting at.
On this topic of mindset, Chad, too, you've had to overcome some incredible challenges. And like one of them is that, you've kind of touched on this on the seminar, because, so the audience knows, I just went to your seminar yesterday. It was incredible. Pretty much me and my team went. I highly, highly recommend it. Pretty much came out of there like, wow, this is some good stuff. Really, we're going to start taking right away.
So glad to hear
start
that,
using
man.
now on files,
Thank you so much. I'm
yeah,
glad
absolutely.
You came, by the way. Thanks
absolutely.
so much.
No, it was super. It was great. And I was a little nervous, because it's like, it's not cheap, And so, and I was treating myself and the two guys, just two of my guys. And so, I was a little nervous at first to kind of pull the trigger on it, but then I really,
have to spend all day on a Tuesday too, when you're busy.
That too. Yeah, that too.
Very, very busy. You take your team and that's got to be hard, So
it is. Yeah, we had to kind of turn our phones off and stuff, and we did have a job. Actually, we had a job going on yesterday too.
Oh man!
And I got done. And she's like, "I haven't seen anybody." That was our bad. We should have, gave her more updates and stuff. But anyways, what I was gonna kind of get at was that, I had a sales trainer who like got me into the roofing business. And he used to tell me, he's like, hey, I'd be like, hey, I didn't get any leads today, and hey, that's okay, man. If you have a bad day, doesn't mean you're going to have a bad week. And I was like, okay. He's like, you got the whole rest of the week to go make it happen. I was like, awesome. I like the way, I like that. He's like, hey, and by the way, just because you have a bad week doesn't mean you're going to have a bad month. Okay. And I was like, okay, all right. I'm with you. And then he's like, oh, and by the way, just because you have a bad month doesn't mean you have a bad year. And I was like, all right, where are you going with this?
Yeah, where's
this
going?
And then he ended up saying, just because you have a bad year doesn't mean you have a bad decade. And I was like, what are you talking about? And, and he's like, I went to prison for 7 years. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I went to prison for 7 years. And he's like, but when I got out of prison, I went out and started selling steaks door to door, and killed it, crushed it, selling steaks door to door. That my 8th year, and then I got recruited into the roofing business because the guy who I was selling a steak to was like, "You need to quit selling steaks, come sell roofs." And he started selling roofs door to door, and he had that. By year 10, he was very successful.
Wow,
he still had a great decade. So it really made me
wow, that's powerful.
Change my mind about things big time. To think long term.
Mm-hmm.
So you've kind of got into some trouble after you got in your teenage years. Was it like in your adulthood?
Yeah, young
right?
adult. Yep, 19 is when I got in trouble.
Okay.
And I try to. I'm very open about that. Like I bring it up before people ask me is a thing. Because I used to really be concerned about it, about people finding that out about me, and and it carries a big stigma. I think that when someone because I had a felony and went to prison.
Oh wow.
Multiple felonies actually.
Okay.
And so that is a stigma and it happened to me right away. So it's like, wow, I've ruined my life.
Yeah.
Just became an adult and already I ruined my whole life.
Wow. Wow.
And that's the way.
Talk about beating up on yourself.
Yeah, right.
You must have really gone down far.
Well, look at society right now, and it was the same way then. Look at society and the way that they look at people who have a felony, right? Like, and by the way,
it's tough to get a job.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, and it's not just a job. Like it goes against you, like on insurance rates, like banking, merchant services, even like if you want to go rent a house or an apartment.
Yeah,
that could prevent you from being able to move in from something that happened years and years and years ago.
Well, it's hard too because like you did your time, and then you
paid
get
all
out,
my money,
but you still
paid a lot of money, did a lot of probation and things,
Okay.
and messed up on the probation, and I had to go back into the jail. Seriously, you would think that you would learn enough, right?
Yeah.
You would never let anything happen to you.
Yeah.
But the probation is, once you're in the system, it is very, very difficult to get out of it. It is And I really, you see people talk about that, and it's hard to really understand it unless you're in it, you know.
Yeah.
But you have to go, and you have to. Everybody, most people, when they get out of that, they want to go work. They want to go, you know, try to clean up their act and try again. You know, have that second chance.
Yeah.
But there's always that. You know, for me, it was funny. See, I was on probation, and it was federal.
So you did your time. You got out, got on probation.
It was called supervised release, and the probation officer, you know, wants to know. You have to do like a monthly report. They want to know where you're working, okay? So you have to tell them where you're working. You can't lie on any of this stuff. That'll get you thrown back. And then so you have to tell them where you're working, and then once you tell them where you're working, they have to go do a visit with the employer. You know what I mean? So there's no way to like not tell the employer that you're. And then so for me, it was all about, you know, I'm tired of this. I'm going to go do my own thing, and I'm going to start my own business, right?
So
and
like, let's go through the timeline though. That's not when you got into roofing.
No, I started out in landscaping.
Okay, so that's when you started doing landscaping.
I had a landscaping company. At one time, I even had like 40 people working for me.
Wow.
Yeah, at like 21.
So you had a giant realization, like, hey, I'm not getting a job. I don't know if this is going to work out for me due to my background.
Yeah,
I'm just going to go do my own.
That's
thing.
right.
You almost did out of necessity.
I had my probation officer come out to my office and visit my office instead of visiting my employer.
How'd you get the money to get an office?
I went and just started out, and you know, it's funny. When I was a kid, I related with your dad, the story with you and your dad.
Yeah.
When I was telling my daughter this story the other day. I want to say 10, 11, 12, 13. Every Saturday, Sunday, I was dragging the lawnmower through my neighborhood and knocking on doors and mowing lawns and coming home at the end of the day with a pile full of cash in my pocket.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's like, you know, I would want this or that. And I told my daughter this. I said, you know, for me, babe, I wanted to order a pizza. You know, I wanted to get a pizza delivered. And my mom would always say, no, we don't have the money for that, you know? And so, all right, let me go get my own. I said, you know what I did, babe? I was on my way home, and I got myself I looked at the cash, and I got home, and I ordered a whole large pizza and a 2-liter. And she was like, what? You know, that really got her attention then, you know.
That's cool,
like,
yeah.
And she's like, what did your mom say when they came? I said, you know, you better not have ordered pizza. We don't have the money for that. And I said, I've got my own money, Mom. You know, I was telling her about it. And so I always had that little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. You know, I got a job when I was 17 in sales. I made $52,000 when I was 17.
What were you selling?
I was selling Cutco knives. You ever heard of Cutco?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was selling Cutco knives.
That's a super nice product, right?
It really is, man. I still believe in it, you know, wholeheartedly. And
do you have a set at your house?
I do. I don't have a set. I have a couple knives, but I need a set. I need to get a set.
Right?
So if anybody's hearing this and you're a Cutco sales rep, hit me up, because I could probably give you a sale, because I currently need new knives.
But aren't they like $5,000 a pop?
No. They were like, well, who knows? They might be now, but they were like $776 for the set that I sold.
That's a pretty good chunk of money for some knives.
It really is,
right?
but I didn't think when I started that anybody would actually buy it. And then they have you start with your friends and family, you know. So I started it with all my relatives, and they were buying it up like crazy. I was like, couldn't believe they would buy a $35 knife, you know. But they were really incredible. So it really helped in sales. But honestly, for 3 days before I got that job, I sold door-to-door Kirby vacuum cleaners.
Oh, wow.
And so I say 3 days. That's all it lasted.
Yeah,
I saw the sign for that job, and I was like, wait a minute, you don't have to go knock on doors, you know, and try to sell a vacuum cleaner at somebody's door.
Cutco gave you leads or something?
Yeah, well, no, it was a different system, like where you went to the friends and family, and then you called them and kind of built it. It was all referral. It was referral based.
Gotcha.
Which was excellent experience for me, you know, at that time.
Well, you're a big referral based guy now.
Absolutely. All referrals, you know, brand and referral for sure.
Gotcha.
And so,
well, not only that, you decline clients.
I do, yeah.
That's
like
a great
right now,
place to
I'm not
be.
open right now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
I was open for a little bit recently, and I took on, you know, I'll have an opening, kind of like a doctor's office. You know, we currently have an opening. You better take it.
Yeah. Well, we'll get a little bit more into that. So you learned to do some sales. That's pretty hardcore sales.
It is, yeah.
Stuff, right?
But it kind of, in a way, ruined me, because you know, I should have gone to college after high school, but nobody was pushing me to do that. Nobody
do you really
nobody
believe in
was helping.
college?
Well, you know, Let's just say this. It would have gone different for me if I would have went to college than the way that it did go.
Gotcha.
Okay. So,
gotcha.
But let me talk about that.
Yeah.
Like in college, I'm okay if my daughter decides not to go to college. I'm not going to push college on her. I think college is not what it's all cracked up to be. I do believe that. So, but I think the college experience is what I missed, right? The experience of going away, being on your own, and having that, camaraderie with people that you meet and that you get to know that you have for life. My wife has, a lot of that, and so I feel like I missed it. But let me tell you something.
I did it. You didn't. Don't worry.
Yeah, you did. But let me tell you something. We're talking about regrets here, right? A lot of about regrets. Let me tell you what I feel about regrets.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been in trouble in years and years and years, right? I do my best to be a productive citizen.
I mean, when you talk about some of it, it's quite shocking because you are like a very straight up. I mean,
you might think, no, I'm just kidding.
Hard to think of you being, the way you were in the past.
I feel like a little bit like an old man now. I'm 42 and I feel kind of like my dad in a sense now.
You're a straight shooter.
And by the way, I love my dad to death. My mom, they're not together now, but we have a great relationship, all of us now.
That's cool.
And my mother is a recovering alcoholic, drug addict. She really after that divorce and that marriage I mentioned fell apart,
right?
And she went off the deep end.
Wow.
I mean, she was a registered nurse and really, 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 she had 2 properties and everything was thrown away. 401k,
Alcohol will do that.
But today she's doing great. So again, we're talking about regrets. Let me tell you something. I have been trying my best to learn to love the things about myself that I most wish didn't happen. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I've been hearing this I heard somebody say this the other day. I don't even know where I heard it, but it made it was said similar to that. And it made so much sense to me that, you go back and you think, I've spent so many years. I think maybe I have a little bit of PTSD. Okay. Like the flashbacks and just what it is it's having a flashback of certain memories that you just wish so bad didn't happen, like you want so bad to go back and change a moment in time, where things would have gone so much differently for you, right? So anybody listen to this, I'm sure somebody can identify with one of their biggest regrets, maybe you wished you would have played football and you would have at least tried, or something like that. But listen, if it weren't for all of that trauma, and that's what it is. If it weren't for all of that, I could never do what I'm doing right now. I couldn't even begin to visualize me doing. I wouldn't have what it takes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
Yep.
I've started to discover that certain people are actually envious of my story.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a story. Like they were, given things when they were growing up and things came easy to them. Yeah. Everything they touched turned to gold and they didn't have to face near as much adversity. And so now when problems come, maybe as an entrepreneur, they crumble, and they have a very hard time. They shut down. And so, it's helped me in a lot of ways to be able to read people of all walks of life and to understand them from their point of view and where they're coming from. And, I think I get people when I talk about it that they come up to me and they say, or they call me or they send me a text or a comment. And they're just like, you know what? I'm so glad I read this or I'm so glad I heard this story because that's me. Like everything that you went through, like that's what I'm going through now.
Yeah.
Or that's what I've been going through the last year. And I just don't know how to pick up the pieces again. And I know I have to because I have kids and they're counting on me. But I just don't see myself that I have any value or any ability to do anything about it, And dude, you're talking about the mindset is everything. I mean, it just really does change. It takes a change of mindset. And sometimes it might take somebody else, like kids, to be the reason. You may need to have to find a reason, to get back up, and to take back control.
Well, it sounds like you really
life.
wanted to get your life straightened out.
No
so like
question.
After landscaping, what happened after that?
Well, after landscaping, I was so inexperienced, in doing what I was doing. I tried to
like
grow
as a
way too quick.
landscaper?
Well, I tried
Or as a leader?
as a business person.
Oh, gotcha.
Right? As
Okay.
trying to grow. I just figured, I have all this work. I'm locking that down. I'm doing the sales really well. And so I would put more into the effort of selling, and I would get more jobs. And I figured the way to solve the production was, if you had a 4-man crew, just make it an 8-man crew and it'll go twice as fast.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that, right? So it doesn't work like that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the more people you have, the more opportunity you get for people to like kind of just loaf it,
More problems you can have.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, and so that's just one example. We don't have enough time for all of the things I learned through that experience. But let's just say, so I do remember, the millennium was just a tough time. It was,
Like
it was so
2000?
unpredictable. Yeah, everything was so
Y2K,
unpredictable.
all that.
Y2K, and I really struggled through that time period. And then also September 11th, 2001 was really tough for me, so just people all of a sudden stopped contracts, wanted to pull out, and that was just devastating. I think it was for a lot of people all around the country though, but especially for entrepreneurs. But yeah, I really, how I got in trouble. I think that's where you're trying to get to, right?
I'm curious what happened after landscaping and how you kind of got into the roofing business.
Oh, okay. Well, the roofing business, there was an ad that I saw in the newspaper for a sales position with a company, which I won't name the company, but I don't really know what they're doing these days. I don't even know if they're still around. But I saw their signs literally everywhere, all through Dayton, Ohio, where I'm from. And that's where I was living at the time.
Okay.
And I saw their signs everywhere, and it was a catchy sign, and it was like a black and red, white kind of a sign, and it was roofing, free inspection. I had no idea that there was a hailstorm. No clue.
Yeah.
Nor did I have an idea that you would need a new roof if hail came. I had this was just. But what I was so keenly aware of was marketing. Because of the landscaping, I had been trying to figure out how to get jobs, and I was using flyers, and I was doing really well at it. But it seemed impossible to me that there were literally that many signs. How in the world did they do it? I didn't see them on TV.
They crushed it, huh?
Yeah. So when I saw the ad for it, I was like, it was more like if anything, I was intrigued and curious about how are you getting this much business? What's this all about?
Yeah.
And then of course my mind was blown even more to go there and learn that, the insurance company pays for this, and it's not really real sales, but that's how I got into it. And I did.
How long ago was that?
20 years.
Really?
Yeah, 20 years.
Dang, you've been doing this 20 years, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, crazy.
But I didn't, when that happened, I didn't have any significant, so I'd love to be able to say I was a roofing rock star and I came in and just sold and broke records, but I was so confused. I can remember it was like foggy to me. Everything was blurry to me. That's what it seems like looking back, meaning I didn't understand anything. So I came from that landscaping. Most I ever really did with construction was like maybe build a deck or paver patios, things like that. A wall, a retaining wall, so roofing, the concept of roofing was beyond me, right?
Okay.
A ridge, that was probably the easiest thing to figure out because you think of a ridge at the top of a hill, but like eave, soffit, just forget about it. It was so difficult for me. What's a pipe jack? For me, it came hard and slow.
You have a curious mind too, so it's probably really frustrating.
Yes, I got to know why and how.
What is all this stuff?
I'm analytical.
With? And your people, your manager is probably like, hey, don't worry about that. Just go sell a contract.
Yeah,
right?
just like a little couple-hour crash course. I can remember the guy's name. It was Rob something or other. I'd like to look him up. He was a great guy, but he didn't have a lot to work with. The sales manager that was there.
Well, back then they didn't have. Really...
I can remember he had a whiteboard and he drew a picture of a roof. And there was no Eagle View, so we had to learn how to measure it too. Oh my goodness gracious!
Hand measurements.
Forget about it, bro.
Yeah,
I mean, it was so I kind of was in and out. I didn't do very good with that company. I was in and out, and then I had a really good friend of my wife's, her best friend at the time, was dating a guy who was a a roofing subcontractor down in Florida. Like, he was from Ohio, but he was working down in Florida after, let's see, it was 2004 by this time, after hurricanes Charlie, Francis, Gene, and Ivan came and just sort of wiped out this whole Central Florida area and some of South Florida. And he was back in town for the weekend, and we went to dinner, and he's like, "Oh man, you've got to go to Florida. You'll make millions." People are just pulling on your shirt. They're just begging you to sign them up. You got to go. And I went, of course. It wasn't like that, but it was
some devastation.
Yeah, and so that was a sort of my university.
Did you sell a bunch of jobs, basically?
Tons of jobs. Yeah,
2-3 million worth of business type of thing. Really?
More, yeah.
It was just left and right selling jobs.
Way
wow.
More. I mean,
could they keep up with all that?
I can remember. So I worked for several different contractors where it didn't work out. I can remember working for a few of them at a time. Where I remember pulling up to an inspection. I'd have to stop around the corner and change my shirt and change the magnetic signs on the side of my deal.
Yeah.
But I did that because it was so hard to find a contractor that would pay you, and that could build the jobs correctly. There's so many more difficulties in Florida, as you may have heard.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
But then I finally started my own company, and then I was able to work. So you
went through all the licensing, all that stuff.
No, I went and got not one but two licensed contractors and formed a company together with them. So one contractor was a GC and roofing contractor, and another one was a GC. So I got two of them, and which was good because it ultimately didn't work out with one of them. We had sort of a backup there, but and it was a little bit easier to do it that way back then too. But now it's even more tough to do that. But we worked sort of the balance of those storms, and then Hurricane Wilma crushed Miami-Dade, Broward County, Palm Beach County, the bottom part of Florida, heavily populated, tons of tile roofs, right? Wow. And so I can remember going down there at one time having like 80 tile roofing contracts, right?
Really?
At one time. And then
that's insane.
And and I wasn't just doing tile, we were doing the screen enclosures, the exterior, the interior. We're talking about heavy damage. So again, that was my university.
Wow.
That really was.
Wow.
I became a pro in a hurry, just because of the sheer volume of work that I was involved in.
Yeah. Wow. That's intense. So from there, you worked for it sounds like a good chunk of years, 2 to 4 years or so, doing that style of work.
I did. At first I considered myself to be a hurricane chaser.
Okay.
Because I fell in love with it. It's just so extensive. It's so, looking back, I think it's low hanging fruit though. So it's just
kind of
easy
like
to get,
here.
right?
It's like, oh, might be hail, might not. Yeah. It's not like that.
It's just everywhere. Just take your, go drive down the street and line up your schedule. So I got really sort of addicted to that, and for a while, everywhere in Florida, people just assumed that there was going to be a hurricane every year. I mean, there were like hurricane shutter companies, sprouting up, and different kinds of companies that were in sort of that industry or ecosystem, if you will.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. Like after Wilma, it just didn't happen. It stopped. And so I worked as long as I could on hurricane damage, on old hurricane damage, and then try to do more retail stuff. Now, what I should have been doing
tough.
Yeah, it is tough. What I should have been doing though is probably focusing on water and fire, like true insurance restoration.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I just about died in a desert. So, it kind of seems like, because I was just dying, like I was running out of work, running out of life. And then Hurricane Ike hit South Texas. Off I go. I went off and chased that, and then worked, that storm. And then ultimately my wife and I, we moved to Dallas. We settled on Dallas as our home. We still live there now. And this is probably 10 years ago.
So your wife is following you around chasing hurricanes?
Yeah. She's been a trooper, man.
Okay.
But yeah, about almost 11 years ago, I guess it was, we moved to Dallas, and that's
you
when
must have had some fun though. I mean, selling 80 tile jobs.
Tons of fun.
I mean, you and your wife were doing really well.
We were, we were single.
I mean, you had some lifestyle.
We double income, no kids. She's a nurse.
She works too.
Yeah, she did some nursing.
Okay.
And so we'd go off to Daytona Beach or Clearwater, and Miami and different things, because we didn't have a kid yet.
So you've experienced over the years some success in this roofing business.
For sure. Oh yeah.
You've really enjoyed it, it sounds like.
Bro, I have had the ultimate highs and the ultimate lows.
Okay.
You know, I've taken companies and not just ran them into the ground, but under the ground. You know what I mean? Like I have literally, and I say this in my events, you know, I've been kicked out, I've been fired, you know, I've been repossessed.
You've like seen it all.
I've been sued. I've you know, I've been in a jail cell. You know, not you know from this, but you know, before. But you know, when I went to Dallas, I decided to do just that, focus on true insurance restoration work.
It's kind of where the practitioner thing comes to life for you.
You know what I mean?
You're a serious practitioner.
I really am. But
over the years,
you know what I think that is really is I am stubborn. I think that's more what it. And let me explain. I'm stubborn in the sense that I have to figure stuff out on my own.
Okay,
I've got to do it on my own. Like you mentioned the editing, the video stuff. I had to teach myself how to be an editor. Like I've hired different editors, but ultimately I had to figure it out on my own. Web design, development. I'm just stubborn. I had to figure out. You know, I never saw myself like sitting there staring at code for hours and hours and hours, but I can do that now. Like I made myself learn. I made myself, you know, figure out photography and different things. And
well, because you got tired you got tired of like running a company.
Yeah.
Right, you kind of like you kind of talked a little bit about that before. Is you got tired of like the whole scaling thing, all these salespeople, all these subs, and all this crazy stuff. You kind of got tired of that, and you weren't spending any time at home.
Yeah,
you had a child.
So to close up on that, you know, like when I went to Dallas and got into true insurance restoration, did water, fire, and hail. Obviously, is huge, and you know. In Dallas, Texas. So, but here's the thing is that I wanted to get out because I was out of shape. I was about 100 pounds heavier than I am right now. I had high blood pressure. I was on all this medicine, and I wanted to actually get out of it because I identified, I tried to put my finger on it. The production was the part that was killing me. And the fact that I was making, you know, 1 million promises, you travel 1 million miles to keep, you know, you essentially become a firefighter is what you are, you know, as a contractor. And the clients just didn't appreciate all that I was doing for them. You know, I left everything and kind of like, so I wanted to get out. I love the inspections, the estimates, the supplements, the sales aspect of it. But the other part was killing me, but I thought I was trapped in it. Eventually, I was able to get out of it, and not for very much money, you know. And I didn't know what I wanted to do next.
You're
but
very
I decided,
lean. Like you said you don't eat much during the day, but
I decided that I was going to focus on what the parts that I loved. You know, the sales, you know, the inspections, estimates, and supplements more than anything.
Okay.
And so about 10 years ago, I started a virtual estimate writing company, meaning I had a website that people anywhere in the country could submit their data, and in Canada too.
A third-party billing person.
Yeah, well, I didn't start out as the billing. I just did the estimate writing.
Oh, okay.
A couple of years into it, I finally started to do what I called invoice management, the supplementing part of it. And
you'd interface with the insurance company on the contractor's behalf.
I did, and that I figured out, you know, that made me a way better estimate writer because you had to be accountable to your estimate. But dude, I figured out that model was flawed. And I figured that out late in the game, meaning I had already had it so scaled and was working for hundreds and hundreds of contractors across the country. Had a bunch of people working for me, a lot of them virtual, before I really just realized that this was not going to work. Meaning the model is flawed because no matter what I did, no matter how many videos I recorded, no matter how many, you know, like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, no matter what I did, the client, the contractors, and their teams could not ever get me the right documentation, the correct photographs, everything that I would need.
But yet they'd still expect you
to get a good approval. Right. And you can only get a good approval with the right documentation. You can only write an estimate.
When you say documentation, the main thing are photographs, right?
That's right.
That's what you're really looking for.
You know, every job site, I think of it as a crime scene. That has to be investigated. Okay? So like when I go and I inspect the job, I inspect every room, closet, and hallway. The entire, you know, the roof, the attic, every single elevation, every single, you know, attached structure, unattached structure, the mailbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like nothing at that property escapes my attention. That's
Wow.
to me what being a practitioner is all about.
Absolutely.
And so when I really figured that out, I'm like, you know what? It's not going to get done right unless what? Unless I go do it myself. And so ultimately I got rid of everyone and said, I am not going to take another job unless it is boots on the ground. I still say today, people message them like, sorry, brother, we don't do that. We haven't done that in a long time. We only do boots on the ground, inspections, estimates, and supplements.
So
it's just me. So if you hire us, it's me showing up. So if somebody calls me from South Dakota and has a job, and I look at my schedule, if I qualify that client, if I feel like they're eligible to work with me, because I don't feel like it's the other way around. Like I have to qualify them to work with me. And if I've qualified them to work with me and I have an opening, then it's like, okay, I can be there a week from Thursday. You know what I mean? Like that's literally my life.
That's how you operate. That's your business now.
Yep. And so I don't take a lot of jobs.
So you went from being a hurricane chaser to being a third-party supplementer and to now being a consultant for very specialized niche roofing contractors, probably consulting on commercial jobs, I'm guessing, right?
Commercial and some residential.
Some residential too?
I just closed out a $405,000 residential project.
Really?
Yeah.
And the contractor pays you the fee that you negotiate, obviously.
Yeah.
So whatever the contractor says is, hey,
you
guys
say
work
negotiate, I don't negotiate. So
you just don't know what the fee is?
Well, I thought you meant with the adjuster.
No, with the contractor.
Okay, yeah.
Like I'm the contractor. I've got a job.
I really don't
Chad,
negotiate that either.
I need you to, so I call.
I don't really negotiate that either. I mean, my fee is my fee, and that's it. I require a retainer that's significant.
Okay.
And if they satisfy, I have a contract. They execute the contract and satisfy the retainer.
Okay.
And I'll never give them a contract and tell them what my retainer even is until they've been qualified. So if they've gotten a proposal, an agreement proposal from me, that means I want to work with them.
Okay.
And if they execute it and pay the retainer, then I'm heading off.
Wow.
But I'm not going to leave without it.
That's how you're got to be the only person doing that.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe so.
I've never heard of anybody doing that.
I think I was the
fascinating.
only one doing what I was doing with the virtual, the first website to do that.
Yeah. And you've got clients. You got so many clients that you're closed at this point.
Yeah. Well, and not very many. Not very many.
You have a select few who completely value your services, probably incredibly.
And they pay.
They pay because they're probably like, we need Chad. What are we going to do without Chad?
They pay
right?
When the bill is due, they pay.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Unfortunately, a lot of that qualification goes on even after your work. You start working with them. You're kind of still qualifying them to make sure, are they going to pay you? Because you're working for contractors.
Yeah.
And so as much as I love contractors, contractors can be, I don't want to say dishonest. I just think they struggle with cash flow. How about that?
Yeah, it's a capital intensive business. And so
absolutely.
I can definitely have struggles with that. So so that clarifies so much for me. I have to say. Like I'd watch your YouTube videos and I'd be like, this is fascinating, but how did he get here?
I have a lot of people that ask, are you a PA? Are you are you an adjuster?
Yes.
Are you a contractor?
Yeah.
Are you this or that? Very misunderstood.
I bet.
And especially when I began the boots on the ground aspect of it, I'm trying to figure it out myself. People are asking, what do you do? What do you do? And I'm like, I don't have a title. I'm a damage consultant. Is a good title, but so I figured out. It dawned on me. This is sort of a hybrid role, right?
It is.
And so I'm like,
much.
okay, well, we have to give it a name, all right? And there has to be training on it. If this is the first person to assume this hybrid role, we have to have training on it. And so I look around and I see no one has training that's specific to this role, okay?
Yeah.
And so we got to start it. And then that's when I started my online training course, iescertified.com, because we certify them if they make it through it.
Okay.
They're certified as an IES certified practitioner.
So it's kind of like your own sort of like
IES.
what is it called? Accreditation.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, it's like this. It's IES standing for inspections, estimates, and supplements.
Okay.
Right? And so like the training is centered around all of that. And if you make it through the training, you get certified. By who? By me. because I am the IES practitioner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so, and this is my methods, and if you take it seriously and go through it and complete it, and there's tests and all of that, then I'm willing to certify you that you made it. And the idea was,
That's a
look,
cool certification.
if it's a new role, if it's hybrid, then I want, a few years from now, a new sales guy's going into a roofing company or something, or an insurance restoration company, and they have on their resume, I'm IES certified, and the guy knows exactly what that is, and oh man, that's a big value.
Yeah.
That's what I intend for it to become.
Am I crazy to think, like, what if I just what if I'm, I'm looking to, kind of change my career a bit or whatever. Not that I am, but I just started a company. So yeah. But let's say I'm looking to change my career. I go through your your curriculum. I get IES certified.
But you want to do what I do.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Am I crazy?
No, not at all.
You've obviously thought about
sharp,
that.
Right? I think that would be something I would encourage, because there's nobody doing it, right? And in fact, I've had several people go through the course and do exactly that. Some have
probably difficult to land those deals, though.
It is. Some have intended to go through the course to do that, but haven't made it through the course, didn't take it seriously or whatever, right? But there have been a select few that have made it all the way through, and as far as I know,
it's a pretty rigorous course.
Yeah, it is. It's over 30 hours, know. So it has tests on everything, so it takes a while to get through it, right? And it's getting bigger.
The final straw, or the final kind of like test, I guess, final exam is going to be making sure you given the stamp of IES certified personally.
Correct. They get a certificate and everything.
And you're probably not going to be giving those stamps out very easily.
Yeah,
I'm guessing, right?
There's a select few that have, to answer your question, wanted to go through and make that their career.
Okay.
Some have even made their names very similar. I had to get on about that, but you can be an IES practitioner, but don't
call yourself IES. Don't take my name.
Don't take my name. Anyway, but
wow, that's interesting. Man.
Actually,
did you intend?
And when that happens
when
too,
you started?
you have to actually respect and appreciate that. Like, that's a huge compliment.
Yeah, dude, that's huge.
So,
well, I mean, you're onto something.
There's plenty of room.
You're onto something that can change things quite drastically, because
I'd like to think so, man.
I
really
mean,
would.
If people really, once it starts catching on, people start become IAS certified. I walk into I'm a roofing contractor, and I say, man, we're struggling on all these claims. We got all these files. Are there any IAS certified people out there? We already know they're good.
Yeah.
Let's get them. Who cares what they charge? We've got a glut of jobs here when you get through supplementing. Let's see if this person will help us. But I only want an IAS certified guy. I don't want to mess with anybody else.
One thing we didn't touch on, you know what it is more than anything that makes it special, if you will, or and unique, is that I am a firm believer that if you're a contractor and you're working on insurance projects, you should do everything that you possibly can to exhaust all options that are at the contractor level, okay, to work that out with the insurance company.
That's huge.
It's huge. That's
huge.
What I mean by that is, so for somebody out there that may be hearing this and they may be like a homeowner or a business owner and they're hearing this, it doesn't make as much sense to them, right? What I hear from contractors too much in these groups and things, they'll come in and they'll ask a simple question. I have this situation. How should I deal with it? Or how do you guys deal with it, right? And too many times contractors are saying, send it to a public adjuster, or send it through the appraisal process, okay? Or send it to an attorney, right? Like, in other words, they're saying, don't even do any work. Don't try anything.
Yeah.
Just hit the easy button and send it out to somebody else that's going to solve the problem easily for you. But the problem with that, and if it were really that great, then I would be all behind it. But the problem that I see with that is that there's so much delay. It takes so much longer than it does if you were to do it like I do it at the contractor level. Now, what do I mean at the contractor level? At the contractor level, a contractor in almost anywhere is not permitted to discuss insurance policy and insurance coverage at any time, like with the client, with the adjuster, with the insurance company. Because if they did, that would be considered acting as an unauthorized acting as a public adjuster.
So you're referring to contractors not being allowed to discuss specific aspects of the policy and specific coverages.
So you can't say to the adjuster, oh, no, Mr. Adjuster, you're wrong. You have to pay for that drip edge because it's included in the policy or because the policy says you have to, right? Like, so to me, I'm seeing way too many contractors talking like that with adjusters, but they're not really getting results. Yeah. And the reason is because the adjuster's like, I can't talk about that with you. You know, that's policy. Some adjusters do, you know, but it's out of bounds. It really is.
One thing you believe in, you're a firm believer as well, is the going with the grain when working with the insurance companies. When you heard that, I was like music to my ears, man, because it was, because so much of I feel like our industry is based on sort of being combative with the insurance company, you know, and like they're sort of the bad guy, we're the good guy, and then they think we're the bad guy.
You have to come up with some kind of argument so that you can body slam them, you know, and that's not how I do it at all. Not at all.
The way you're doing is going with the grain. One reason I love it is because it's very respectful to the insurance carrier, for one, and that's what we're about.
Or not.
Yeah, well, you're giving them a certain amount of respect, and you're very courteous and polite and professional in your approach to them always.
And diplomatic.
Diplomatic's a big deal for you, and your focus is more on the documentation that you're going to provide, really, photographs and any code items, any code information that might be necessary, and you're willing to sort of discuss walk through, like when they say, well, you can replace that siding. Here is $800 for 200 square feet of siding, and you're like, okay, I see you've written a line item for that siding, but you know there's a few other aspects to that we're not seeing here. What are you talking about? We paid for the siding. There it is. And you'll go back and say, well, no, let's talk about removing the siding, discarding the debris, putting house wrap back on, putting tape on the seams. What about corners? Any special cuts on the corners? Special cuts on the siding? You really think through the job, right?
Yeah, what I want to do is I want to be more knowledgeable about the job than anybody will be or has been or ever plans to be or hopes to be.
Okay.
Right. So like no one's ever inspected that job more than me. No one spent more time dissecting it. And honestly, I earn most of my money when I show up at a job because at the inspection is where I earn all my money. Meaning I find damage that no one else knew was there every single time. It's not sometimes, most of the time. It is definitely every single time.
Yeah.
So am I going to go do boots on the ground and show up in person? You betcha. You know what I mean? Because I am literally, and usually my client.
You act as sort of like the representative of the contractor.
Yeah.
You might even wear their shirt or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, really?
I set up an email account with their company. I set up a designated phone number for their company. Sometimes
you're a true independent contractor.
Sometimes you get business cards, with their company on it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So you're willing to see the job.
Their sales guys are independent, right?
Yeah.
You think about it.
Yeah.
I'm independent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
wow, and so you
I'm just a practitioner.
Sometimes you'll have a business card. You'll have an email, and you'll see the job through until I guess your approvals are in. Right.
Yeah, and to note on what you said before, on the siding example you gave. Yes, that's how I would do it. I would give them all the details, more details than anybody would. But see. The funny thing happens with that, you would think that would be enough, but it's not, like the adjuster, you would think that, you give them the right documentation and they'll just pay for it, right? No, they don't. But it does add a ton of money more than where they were before. And so I don't settle, I don't use that word either. I don't settle with them. The insurance company, they want to add money and write an estimate and send it over to you and say, hey, we've added more money. We didn't get it to where you wanted it to be, but we did add money. Let us know if you agree to that and we'll make payment. Because most contractors fall for that and they think that they have to agree to that estimate in order to get that money that's there, the extra money that's there. Now, but if they agree to that, they can't go back later and add anything onto it. Me, I'm like, well, I can't agree to anything. I can't agree to anything with you. You know what I mean? It's going to take me a while and our team to review the estimate, to vet it, to plan the job, right?
Yeah.
But our job as the contractor is to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you. Okay? So like you write out the marching orders and we carry them out. You write the instructions, we follow the instructions, okay? So when you've added money on the estimate, you didn't bring it to where we thought it needed to be. We think it needs to have more, okay? But our job is just to follow your prescription. So thank you. Thank you for adding more money. Go ahead and send the money. We don't agree to anything. We're going to go ahead and try to follow your prescription. We don't know if we can. We don't think we can, okay? But we're going to proceed with that because, see, that's
you'll document everything you do all the way through.
That's undisputed cash, okay? So if anybody's listening to this, a contract, take that cash off the table without agreeing. You don't have to agree. The thing to say to the adjuster is, listen, if anything comes up, okay, and we find that we cannot follow your prescription, don't worry, we'll supplement it later. And I like to build up good rapport with the adjuster so that I can say to the adjuster, don't worry, we'll supplement it later after you've already gotten paid. Because this actually affects the adjuster's pay.
You mentioned that in the class, and I feel like everyone was sort of like, wow, no one really thought about that,
And why not? You know what I mean? Like we have to be able to put ourselves in the shoes of others.
Absolutely.
Empathy, right?
Yeah.
Like empathy is one of the biggest and most important things that drives my life. But it helps me because if I have a dispute with someone, for example, I'm trying to genuinely look at myself and how I appear to that person, like looking through the lens of their eyes, like how do I look to them, And so if I'm with an adjuster, how do I look to the adjuster? And then you could drill down on that and try to think about more, what's the adjuster's life like, and what is, generally speaking, an adjuster's life like, why do they do what they do?
Sometimes, like we send in an estimate, they might respond like sort of like not upset, but irritated, like what's going on? And we're a little scratching our heads as a contract, like, well, why are you irritated about this? I mean, we're trying to tell you, the right way the budget that we need, and here are the components. But we never really realized, like, oh, now this delayed on his end, so he's not getting paid, or she's not getting paid, and that's really what's causing that
keep this in
irritation.
Mind too. Keep this in mind too. Those lessons that you teach your boys, your 4-year-old and your 1-year-old boy at home.
Yeah,
dude, these adjusters are humans, and they have 4-year-old and 1-year-old kids too.
Yeah,
that they're at home teaching lessons to, and they want their kids to think of them as a good example. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, they're human, just like we are.
Absolutely.
And if we can think about that more instead of them as just the nemesis, they are the nemesis. Make no mistake about that. I don't want to let them off the hook, but you get me.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of this is
the thing is, you mentioned
human stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. And you mentioned in your training about, working on referrals, especially with insurance agents. So that's kind of a big deal for us, is we work with insurance agents and realtors as well.
Sure.
That's kind of probably the thrust of our business, really. And so,
if you're suing the insurance company all the time, you think they're going to give you any business?
Yeah,
no, that doesn't work.
Yeah, not at all. And I work with the agents that I work with are very like, hey, Armando, you get what you need to get, and the insurance should pay,
Sure.
and so like we just want our client to be happy, and like, you know what, that's all I want to. Let's focus on that, and so
that sounds absolutely accurate to me.
Yeah, that's what it all kind of comes down to. Yeah, but there are some that are not so much like that. Okay,
sure.
And they get a little annoyed that, hey, well, why are you guys charging so much? And it's like, well, let me show you why, and we'll kind of discuss why, and so and then they can kind of understand a little bit better, but they still don't seem to like it that much. But
if they don't understand after that, I'm afraid, Mr. Agent, this just isn't going to work out. It's not you, but it's me.
Yeah,
it's not you, it's me.
Yeah,
really. Yeah. I don't think that's going to work out.
I love the way you think, because that's a big deal, being able to be in that position of like, well, I actually pre-qualify my clients, and I don't accept anyone who comes on who wants to work with me. I appreciate the opportunity, and I want to let's discuss this.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to be a good fit at this time.
Yeah. That's very strong positioning. So, well, anyways, man, I think we'll just wrap it up. And
sure.
And I really
you,
appreciate you being here. And this is awesome. I can't wait to edit it and get it out there in the internet, and
I'm going to really look forward to that too.
Yeah,
Seriously.
absolutely. Yeah. And I think it'll be cool because people can, people are going to be like me, kind of wondering, maybe wanting to work with you, and they could be a qualified person, or they want to get in IES
don't be
certified.
scared to call me.
Just be ready. Like, sorry, we're not a good fit. I'm just kidding. But but this way they can listen to the podcast and get to know you a little bit better in this way, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I'm, you know, what you came to yesterday was part of what I'm doing currently. It's that I'm calling the 100 Towns Tour, where I'm literally going across the entire country.
Wow.
And so, you know, my website, insurancerestorationtraining.com. So you didn't ask me to plug it. I just went ahead and invited myself.
No.
But like, you know,
there's one more thing. Chad, wouldn't it be ideal if every contractor had their own in-house IES certified person?
I do. I definitely do.
That's huge, right?
Yep, I do. With insurancerestorationtraining.com, if you go there, you can find a schedule of all the live events.
Okay.
You can get directed to the online training course. You can get directed to my podcast, the Practitioner Podcast. I have to have you on that there soon.
Yeah.
And then there's links to all my social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. There may even be a link to inquire about hiring me. I'm not sure if I have the link for that on there or not.
Yeah, because I mean, you're very word by word of mouth.
Yeah,
right?
no, my company is overheadandprofit.com. My consulting company.
That's
so
the other big one.
If you do want to go to that, you know, it's overheadandprofit.com.
You do seminars strictly on overhead and profit.
No. It's the overheadandprofit.com is my boots on the ground estimating service. Like that. That's it always has been. That's the one I started originally a long time ago.
So when we see the videos of you on overheadandprofit.com, you're usually
that's my consultant uniform.
And you're but you're working usually for a contractor at that point, right?
Yeah, but like when I go out and meet with them and do
you're
my
not selling
inspection,
jobs on your own.
No, I haven't done that in years.
Okay, gotcha.
No, not at all. Nor do I have a desire. I'm a rehabilitated hurricane chaser, you know, it's like I like to say.
Yeah.
But no, I know I've identified what really makes me the most happy, and as a result, like I'm much healthier now. I'm not on any medicine.
Wow.
You know, so I feel younger now than I was when I was 32. You know, and so I think my daughter is going to actually keep me around longer.
Do you
than I
run
thought.
stuff? Or
I do exercise. Mostly walk though.
Oh, do you?
Walking
Okay.
is a big thing for me.
Okay.
And it's not just for physical, but like mentally, it clears my head. You know, and I just get so much out of walking. You know, but I'm very, very active. I usually, as you know, I eat about once a day.
You drink a lot of coffee.
I drink a lot of coffee. I eat once a day. You know, and I usually have a pretty good sized meal, but I cut out, you know, all my fast food and soda, and I don't drink very much, you know, I don't do a lot of like, so those are, to me, I was putting a lot of sugar down my throat if I'm drinking beer, you know what I mean? And
what does a practitioner do for fun?
What is a very good idea? Or a good question. Well, mostly for fun. You know, nothing good happens after midnight for me, so I'm pretty boring. I'm in after, you know, I'm in much sooner than that usually. I get up very early, so fun to me.
How early do you get up?
4, 5, 6.
Really?
Just depends, you know.
Okay.
Like, it depends. I mean, I don't like to really. I like to wake up when my body's ready to wake up.
Okay.
You know, I want to go to sleep
You
when
don't
my
set an
body's ready.
alarm?
No, not usually.
Okay.
Not usually.
Okay.
Sometimes if I got in late before one of these events, you know,
Yeah.
I'm a little worried. I mean, if I missed that alarm, that hasn't happened yet.
Do you have experienced stress?
Of course. Oh yeah.
Because it seems like you kind of made it. You've worked really hard over the last 20 years.
Constant stress.
To get where you are now, though.
So I launched a whole tour in all the locations, not knowing if anybody want to come to these events, and right away they're selling out. Like immediately.
You got
so I'm like
shit ton of engagement.
so
excuse my French.
I'm like,
but yeah.
oh man, I've got to. Now I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to do the events. You know what I mean? Like, like it's a little bit terrifying knowing like you can't get out of it. You know, and so I did that not with a year of planning. You know what I mean? Like I'm very much an implementer. Okay. I act on my ideas. I don't act as impulsive as I used to do when I was younger, because I've learned it gets you in trouble. You know, so I am calculated and I'm strategic. But when I get an idea that I love, a concept, I'm going to act on it.
And the 100 Town Tour was like
that was it. I can remember the moment when it became very clear that it was going to happen. And that moment was less than a month before I started pushing it.
How long ago was that moment?
A few months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, I basically sold over 500 tickets in like 3 weeks.
And you had no idea that was going to happen.
No, I didn't know how, and I didn't know.
Did you have doubts?
Listen, of course, I didn't know how much these things were going to cost to do. I didn't know. I announced
you do an analysis.
I announced the cities, but I didn't have the locations locked down.
Right.
I knew approximately where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Okay, but I didn't have the location. I didn't know if the price I was charging would cut it. Would cover everything.
Okay.
I didn't know if I'd be able. I didn't know anything, man. I just went with it.
Okay.
I decided that if I made mistakes, I could adjust them along the way.
Okay.
If the first event sucked, the second event would be better, and the third event would be better than that. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not afraid to screw up. I'm not afraid to make a mistake. I'm not afraid to not be the best, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not afraid to disappoint. Because I think if we're sitting around worried about that, we're not going to get anything done. I'll challenge you a bit.
You were a little afraid. You had some doubts, right? But you did it anyways.
I did it anyway.
You didn't let it stop you. The doubt, you didn't let the doubt stop you.
I couldn't let it stop me. It was that much
you were too passionate about it.
For sure, it was definitely meant to be. For sure, it opened up like a tunnel, like an open, wide road in front of me. And I couldn't sleep over it.
And was your spouse like, you got to do this too?
She's like, you're nuts. She's like, you can't do this.
Really?
Yeah. She put out a post on her Facebook recently and shared and said how proud she was of me. And she even said in there, and I wasn't so sure that he could do, And she,
well, you're not even halfway through, right?
No.
I mean, how many more cities do you have?
A ton.
Really?
Yeah.
Crazy. Are you going to California?
I'm going all over California.
Really?
Got sales in California for months away. It's filling up quite nicely.
Wow, man.
LA,
I'm excited for you, man.
Anaheim, Sacramento, San Fran.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all going to
literally 100 towns.
100 towns. It's like 106, I believe.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we still have some more we're going to put on there. We're gonna. Let me break some news. We're going to end it in Hawaii.
What?
Yeah, there's a market in Hawaii at the very end.
Like, is that next year?
I'll let you know.
You're okay. I'm going to Hawaii
right now. If you look at the list now, it goes up through I think the end of March. But we're going to put it on.
So it could potentially be 2020.
I don't want to say too much.
All right. I'm just excited because if you happen, I'm going to be in Maui the 22nd through the 5th. So if you happen to be around then, I will definitely go.
Of when?
I'll be January.
Of January, okay.
January 22nd through February 5th, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I can hold out that long. Maybe I'll have to go back.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, I've
never been. I'm super pumped.
Really?
I've never been to Hawaii.
Okay.
So I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, he's going to be blown away. Yeah, it's amazing there.
I may not come back.
Well, yeah, you might not.
I'll just do
honestly, you probably won't.
Just virtual training from now on.
Exactly.
No more boots on the ground.
Go back to supplementing.
No more inspections. No more supplementing. Just training. No. I got to. That's the thing. You got to keep doing it. You have to keep doing it so you can stay relevant. So I have this thing about people are like, well, why don't you just do the training exclusively and go do the events exclusively? But then I'll lose my edge. Right, because I know what State Farm is saying now.
Yeah,
I know what they're doing now. So I think you have to stay doing it. So that part about the nickname is true.
Well, the practitioner is becoming your brand.
It is.
So yeah, you I guess you could change it down the road, but I mean, it's I think you being the practitioner is pretty strong way for people to want to do the training because it's like, hey, this is a guy who's out there.
And
grinding it out.
People just started calling me that, because I did a video where the concept was, look, I'm not any kind of a guru. I'm not some master or professor. I'm just, a guy like you. I'm in the trenches like you. I'm just a practitioner, just like you, figuring it out every day. And when I figure it out, I share it. Okay, so like if I crack some code, and figure something out, I want to share it. I want people to know that. And where other people, like, other contractors and other trainers and consultants will say, shut up, don't give them that information, But I'm just like, you do you, man.
Totally.
You do you.
I mean,
I'm going to give until it hurts.
Yeah,
you get more business as a result. It's the craziest thing.
It's pretty obvious that you really, you're not holding back.
No.
You're not holding back whatsoever.
I'm trying to get.
There's more out there too because there's so much more to learn about this business, and you admit it yourself that you haven't learned it all.
If I could somehow figure out how to make the camera run faster and get the editing done faster, I would already have like 500 more videos out there.
Yeah.
Like I will never run out of content to talk about in this industry to help people.
Well, it's a constantly changing industry too.
Yeah. I mean, you saw at the event, it's just like, I got to almost talk fast so I can get it out.
Yeah.
You know, the breaks, people asking me questions, and I literally will stay there until the last person's left answering all their questions.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, and I have this sort of feeling when everybody leaves, like, dang, man, I just don't feel like it was enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't feel like it was enough.
Yeah.
And yet there was this fire hose that ran for 8 hours the whole day, you know, but I still don't feel like it was enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm going to be putting out content forever.
You know, that's a recurring theme in people who have a growth mindset, though, that it's never enough, you know, and you're going to constantly be growing. And I think it's important. And once we think that we've got it figured out, that's where you mess up, you know. And I'm a big follower of David Goggins. You might have heard of him. He wrote a book called You Can't Hurt Me.
Read that.
Look it up, man. It's
Definitely.
like changed my thinking a lot.
You Can't Hurt Me.
You Can't Hurt Me.
Just
yeah.
The title sounds
David
good.
Goggins is he's an ultra marathon runner. So he runs 100-mile races. And he kind of like, you know, everyone looked up to him. He got pretty well known in that. But then he was like, dude, you guys, I'm not that special, okay? Like, let me tell you about my background. And he wrote a book about his life and his background. And he went through some horrible, just horrific, you know, traumatic things and stuff like that. And he kind of, you know, there's one point where he's like, you know, 300 pounds obese, and he's eating Twinkies and drinking milkshakes and going to a job that he hates. And then he kind of like, you know, comes home and watches TV, and that was his life. That was him. And now he's an ultra marathon runner, pretty much the hardest, toughest guy in the world.
Amazing.
But he kind of says, hey, look, you can get there by having a growth mindset.
It's a mindset, man.
Always be growing. He's like, I'm never going to reach the end. To this day, I don't care how far I get, I'm never going to be where I want to be. And he calls like blissfully discontent or something like that. I don't know. But
I would also encourage, I know we're wrapping up, but I would encourage people, anybody listening to this, you know, something that back to my grandparents, they would tell me when I was trying to start new businesses, you know, they're like, you just want to get rich quick. Mm-hmm. Looking back, I think that's probably true. Mm-hmm. I was looking for an easy way to arrive. I'm not at all that way anymore. I'm a firm believer now. You got to put it in, baby. You know, there are some lucky ones out there.
Getting rich slow?
Oh yeah. Well, no, I don't put a time on it.
Okay.
But I believe you got to put it in. You know, you got to put in what it takes to get there. I know there are exceptions, you know, I know that. But they would used to say to me, Chad, just go down and flip burgers or flip hamburgers at McDonald's just to get a paycheck, right? And I got to tell you, I believe that is just horrible advice. That is not advice I'm going to be giving to my daughter ever.
Yeah.
My advice is only do what you love to do and what you're passionate about. Mm-hmm. And if you're desperate for money, figure out a way to raise that money from that passion. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like honest. And so that's what I've been doing for the last several years. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm healthier. That's why I look better. Yeah. I feel better. I'm a much more better quality of a husband, of a dad, of a human, of a trainer, of a consultant, of a mentor, of a friend. Yeah. All those things, you know. So it just, I think that could be a part of it.
Yeah.
Part of the key.
Huge part of it, man.
Yeah. And
that's
so
awesome.
you said, you know, love yourself.
Yeah.
Think about your past. Mm-hmm. Love your freaking past.
Yeah.
Find a way to fall in love with your past, as horrible as it is, because it has value. Yeah. You know,
you got to love all aspects of yourself. Yep. You know, not just the good stuff.
But you got to move forward. Mm-hmm. At some point, you got to move forward. You have to look forward and stop wasting time looking back. You know, stop wasting time being down on if you're looking back at all, you're taking the value from it. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. But I'm talking about sitting around and dwelling on it and wishing things could be different. Yeah. Or somebody screws you over and you're trying to figure out how to sue them and get your money back. You know, you're chasing bad money after good. You're missing new opportunities because you can't see them because you're so looking backwards. You can't see in front of you. It's too blurry up that way, right? You can't even see. So, you know, to me, it's just all about always moving forward, being consistent. Yeah. You know. definitely, like you said, loving yourself too.
Huge,
That's
man.
important.
Huge.
God
Thank
made
you so much,
God
Chad.
made you. So,
Thank you, Chad. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate
Great to
it,
see
man.
You. I got Chad right here, right in front of me. We only
go on
do
for
this
a couple
podcast
more hours,
live.
huh?
We probably could, honestly. My first one, I went 2 hours.
Oh,
man.
wow.
Yeah. So
it's hard to keep it down.
I only do this face to face, though.
I love it.
It's hard. Yeah,
you told me that.
Because I'm very big on quality and everything that I do, and so not to knock guys who do it, remotely, because that's something you got to do what you got to do.
And it definitely brings down I've done it, and it's so hard.
It's hard.
It brings down the quality.
It's hard. And I'm lucky. I'm in Denver, and I've got all kinds of amazing industry leaders here.
Sure.
That I can they can stop in and do this recording. So
I'm
going to keep it going, and I really appreciate everybody for listening. Thank you very much, and look up Chad, follow him, find him at his live stuff because you can't hire him if you're contracting. And but go to the live things. You will not regret it.